What up, what up, what up? Y'all, hope everybody's having a great start to their Monday as we step into a dress room. This first time here, welcome. You know what I'm saying? I understand that this is a deeper conversation about style and personal development, right? Personal presentation, the way that you haven't thought about it. And today I'm gonna be a bit controversial, but not really. And it's because there's a bigger conversation that we need to have around your personal style and your personal style development. So I'm not gonna waste any time because I don't have a lot of time today. But I recently saw the reintroduction to the whole five a man needs five suits, right? Concept that Steve Harvey started. I want to say about 2 or 3 years ago at this point, and everybody was jumping on this trend, right? A man needs five suits. He needs this many shirts. It was like a cream shirt, a white shirt, and a blue shirt, or something to that effect. And then he was talking about how you could mix and match all of these different looks together, and that you can't mess up. But here's where he messed up, and where a lot of these people who are continuing to push this narrative mess up in modern day society. One, how many guys are actually wearing suits, right? And I get that you can break these up as separates, but in reality, how many guys are having to dress up on a day-to-day basis? How many guys are having to put these looks on a frequent occasion? Especially a lot of young guys who are looking to develop their and cultivate their wardrobe. How many of you guys actually have to wear tailored clothing, especially in that manner and in that way? Well, when I'm dealing with most of my clients, it's a very small segment, it's a very small few guys who actually still dress up to go into the office every day. And recently on one I saw, and my man who put it on, great guy. This is not a personal attack. This is a personal observation. He was saying that like now you should add a turtleneck to this look, and him and three other guys that he works with pretty frequently were positioning this. And I started to think about the fact that one, it's just not it's not conducive to most guys. Most guys don't really wear turtlenecks, and that's listen. I got my own perspective on that. I think a lot of guys could benefit from wearing one, but they're not wearing turtlenecks to begin with, and in effect, a lot of guys do not need to wear suits when they're stepping out. With that being said, I want you to understand I'm advocating for guys to dress up more, to show up as better version of themselves. But I'm not of the belief that every guy needs to follow getting suits. So we're going to talk about some solutions to what they were talking about. But I wanted to be very mindful because like this young man, great guy, like I said, has 1 million followers at this point recently. Congratulations to him, my man Trey Bryant. Um, and because of his following, he now has influence, right? And he's had influence as he's continued to grow his following and his channel. The challenge often is for me though, do you know what suits you and how to wear what suits you for where you are, right? And this is something that a lot of guys miss. So I want you to try this on and see how it fits you. Are you in a situation where over the next month, if you had the money, right? I'm not talking about money is no option, but you had the money that um you would go out and purchase five suits. If you had the money, but you needed to also leverage that money for multiple looks to get you through the season, is that something that you're going to invest in? And before you're like, yeah, man, that would make sense to me. I want you to think about top coat. I want you to think about casual situations. I want you to think about the situations where you're going to be in a leisure or very relaxed space. What are those looks going to then look like when you're throwing on a suit, when you're throwing on a uniform that automatically will elevate the look? Because here's the reality. For most guys can stand to benefit from two suits. Black should never be your first starting suit. Why is that? Because black as a color profile is something that is very stark. It is very formal. It is mysterious, powerful. It has all these other levels of formality that immediately take you away from the connectivity that you need in social situations or leisure situations. It'll immediately take you away from the spaces when you need to connect in professional situations. It does not give you any leverage to then move around in casual situations or scenes or scenarios. I remember telling a story about a homie who decided he was only going to wear a black suit, a white shirt, and black shoes for a year. And I remember really admiring him for doing that, and I still do. But I also saw how restrictive it was. We went out one night when he had made this declaration. It was probably 2 months in. We went out to a bar. It wasn't a very high class lounge, or it was just a kind of a dive bar. And I remember I had on like uh, a casual jacket, maybe it was like a chore jacket, a polo on, and some chinos, and my slippers, right? And I remember me feeling a little bit overdressed, but my man shows up in his black suit, and I think it was a pinstripe suit to add on, right? White shirt. And I remember everybody looking at him, but looking like confused, like, why are you in here? Like, this is way too dressed up, right? And it was cool. I mean, he was a cool dude. He was able to maneuver through the situation, but that initial impression was immediately removed him from like really being able to move around the room, right? So black is never a suit that we recommend. I don't even recommend black suits to most of my clients unless they're specifically getting them for their funeral suits. And if I'm being honest, you really don't even have to wear a black suit to a funeral anymore, but you can, right? It's still appropriate if you do. When it comes to the other suit, I think they had like a brown suit or a tan suit. A lot of guys then will go get that as well, and they don't realize how limiting that can be from a seasonal standpoint and also from a professional standpoint. So when you hear a lot of guys going to get brown suits, and I love a brown suit by the way, so this is not to take away from it. The thing that a lot of guys miss is how casual that suit often portrays itself as. So if you go get a brown suit and you're trying to wear that to a job interview where you need to look professional, if you don't know what you're doing, that can be a very dangerous pursuit, right? It can misrepresent what you are looking to convey. Instead of coming off grounded, you come off looking shitty, right? So you have to be very careful about what you're putting on and why you're putting it on in these different types of situations. So that leaves us with the other two colors, a gray and a blue suit. 95 to 98% of men can get away with those two suits for honestly probably the rest of their lives. If they need to get a black suit, they can get a tux. Because that's the only time that they're really going to have to be very dressed up. So a guy who just invests in a high quality navy suit and a gray suit has much more leverage in really cultivating a dynamic style down the road. And just as easily as the rest of those that they were talking about, you can mix and match blue and gray to tell a great story. Then it's just about finding the right gray or the right blue for you, but that's for another conversation. But you can start leveraging these things to be more beneficial. Then I would tell somebody, if you're going to follow this practice or this principle, invest in a casual brown jacket. Brown is a great foundational color. It's something that you can leverage with a multitude of different types of colors that you can develop and that will be of good use for you and your personal style. And then if you're going to get something black, get like a black leather jacket, right? So a lot of these guys limit, unfortunately, how you can wear something because they aren't thinking about where you are, right? So there's the where, the things that we're putting on for where we're going that we have to think about. And a lot of guys aren't thinking in those terms. So they're just putting out something that was a cool gimmick. It was smart in how they put it out, but it really serves no practical purpose. So I want you to think about three elements of of how to structure your style that are going to be the most beneficial to you, instead of just getting something to wear and not thinking about where you are. So I want you to think about where you are in your life right now. I want you to think about where you go frequently and also where you would like to be. So a lot of guys don't think these things through. The easiest way to do, and I believe I talked about this briefly last week, is I want you to pull out your calendar right now. Actually, I talked about this in a cohort that I'm a part of. And I want you to pull out your calendar, and I want you to look at your November and your December. And if you really want to be ambitious, you can look at your January as well. And I want you to look at all of the events that you have coming up. Maybe you got a birthday, maybe you have a holiday party with that coming up. You got Thanksgiving, you got Christmas, you got New Year's, right? At the very least, you got three events that are coming up: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. And you may find yourself at church, you may find yourself at a holiday party, ugly sweater, Christmas party, a company party, any of these different types of things that are going to require a look. Then I want you to think about what it would look like if you threw on a suit in those situations. Now, it may play when you go to the holiday party, right? Depending on how formal your company is. But it's not going to play well at Thanksgiving. Like, folks, your family's going to clown you. Like, why you got a suit on? You got to preach? Like, and imagine if you wore a black suit, white shirt to your Thanksgiving, like your Thanksgiving dinner, when everybody else is worried about the turkey, playing football, watching football, enjoying their time in a leisurely way, and you show up in a formal dress or a formal expression. Now, I know that this is a extreme in the sense that nobody's going to show up to their holiday party in that, right? But I want you to think about how that ends up playing when you start to when you start to put these things out, when you start to these different types of, because there are other ways for you to navigate this to your benefit, right? So let's say instead of you wearing the black suit, you decided to throw on the black leather jacket, a white tee, right? Or a nice, crisp, lightweight sweater, and then a pair of the gray trousers that you have on. Well, now you have something that is easily going to be translatable into a different scene or scenario, multiple scenes or scenarios. And let's say instead of doing the brown suit, you do the brown cardigan or brown shawl cardigan, right? Something that can be a little bit dressed up. And now you can throw this on whether you're watching a football game, hanging out with the homies, on some leisure tips. You can throw that on with a pair of jeans. You can throw that on with a pair of navy slacks or trousers, dress that up a little bit. And there's all these different ways that you can wear it. You can throw it on with a turtleneck if you want to, right? Now you're thinking about wearing what suits you for where you are. A lot of guys, if they would just make that slight pivot in how they present themselves, they would benefit leaps and bounds because it would save them so many headaches. They would actually be prepared for any situation that they find themselves in because they know how they move. Something as simple as pulling out your calendar and just thinking about where you go is a game changer for most guys, right? Uh, Versatile pieces go a long way, right? But understanding also your versatile pieces, which we're going to get to in a second, is extremely beneficial. So you first got to know where you are, right? Where you are in life. Are you a single guy who is, excuse me, looking to cultivate a relationship? Are you looking for Mrs. Right now? Are you looking for Mrs. Right? Do you have or do you have a girlfriend? And now you guys are having to step out as a representation of one another. If that's the case, then you got to be very intentional about what you're representing and then what she's representing with you guys being a team, right? Are you in a situation where you are now looking to get a promotion at work or you're on the track for a promotion at work, right? These are things that you got to start thinking about because now you're going to be a representation of the company. Is the company a very high strung, very formalized type of company, or is it more laid back? Because if you're more dressed up than the CEO or anybody in the C suite, that's not necessarily the best look because it could throw off the dynamic for the branding of the company, right? So you want to think about those things. And if you start thinking about those things, then you can start to be more strategic about how you're going to show up in that given situation. The next thing that you have to think about is where you are going, right? What are you thinking about? What are your ambitions? Do you want to be in the mix, right? As I get older, I'm not necessarily thinking about the turn up, right? So literally where we're going, especially me and my wife, we're not homebodies, but we don't like to be in crowded spaces, right? Unless it's something we really, really enjoy. We're going to low key spaces. We're going to elevated spaces. We enjoy quality meal. We enjoy quality mocktail. We're not really drinking right now, so we enjoy these quality products, and we also enjoy qualitative people. Right? We're happy to hang out at home as long as the conversation is good. We're happy to hang out at somebody's house as long as the ambiance is good and it's a good situation. But imagine me stepping out in a space where we're going to hang out and I'm overly dressed, right? Not only is that at best just misinformed, but at worst, it's almost disrespectful to somebody whose house we're going over to, especially if they're not really a dress up or a formal type of person. It's about understanding where you're going and then dressing appropriately. I've had this brief conversation about the understanding of ceremony, right? Understanding celebration ceremony the and the reverence that comes with both of those things. And a lot of guys will try to come out and be turned up and, oh, I'm killing them at somebody else's birthday, at somebody else's wedding, at somebody else's quinceanera, right, that they're attending for a friend, or somebody else's baptism, right? And you're doing all this stuff to draw attention to yourself when you, in fact, should be falling to the back so that these other people can be celebrated, right, can be honored for what they're doing. So you have to think about where you are going, and then you also got to think about where you're going in life. So I had an interesting conversation with one of my homies way, way back, probably about 6 or 7 years ago, when he was first having his first child. So child is actually may have been a little bit longer because child may be 10 now. And we were laughing because I was like, bro, you're gonna have to put up all your nice stuff, all your suits, your cashmere, like go get some like easily transitionable workhorse types of items. And he was like, why? I said, because you're about to have a baby, right? And for the next 3 years minimum, you're going to have to be on guard as long as you have nice clothes, like very, very nice clothes. And he was like, what do you mean? I said, what are you going to do if that baby spits up? And I'm talking about the baby, right? I said, the baby spits up on your cashmere sweater. He was like, it was like he immediately went there. He was like, bro, I don't know, man. Like I'm gonna love my baby. I'm already in love with my baby, but I might have to hurt, right? I might have to hurt, right? Because he was like, he had invested several $100s into this very nice cashmere sweater. I said, what happens when your toddler wants to run in and give you a hug, but he's been finger painting or she's been finger painting, and or eating, and she wants to hug her daddy, right? Or he wants to hug his daddy. Then what are you gonna do? I said, because now your pants are stained. You take it to the dry cleaner, see what they can do to spot clean it, but now you got to hurt your child. So you have to think about where you're going, because for him, once he got uh, a transitory type of element. Now he still wore his nice stuff, but it was generally when the kids were not going to be around, when he could slide into the house, change, and then interact. All those things. It was a few times he had the Heisman. You know what I'm saying? He had the Heisman right on the forehead while they were trying to hug him to get to the room so that he could change first, and then would come out and interact with his children. But there was an awareness of where he was going and what that was going to look like. And so, as you continue to think about where you're going, it's important to be strategic about how you're going to leverage that look. How many times can you leverage that look? Then lastly, you have to think about where it is that you are in your movements for the type of person that you are. And we talked about this before. A lot of guys don't think about where they are in their interactive development or in their interactions, just period. So I have a lot of guys who I talk to who are much more observant. They're not even introverted. They're just much more observant types of guys. They'll happily have a conversation with anyone. They know how to have a conversation. They know how to work a room, but they're not trying to be the center of attention. And yet they'll go get things that put them out of character. So they don't think about wearing for where they actually are for their character. And they wonder why, like, a lot of people are trying to talk to them and they're talking to them about nonsense. They don't really care about this, they don't really care about that. But they're like, yo, that's not what I'm looking to engage with, right? And it's funny that immediately when we transition a look to something serious like a suit, they don't really get a whole lot of engagement the same way. Or the minute that we transform their look from the urban streetwear look to a tailored navy jacket, white button down shirt, a dark pair of gray jeans, and some boots, that there's a different level of seriousness that is promoted when they're putting those different types of things on, right? So if they also think about where they are characteristically, then that also will help how they move, right? How they position themselves. So I'm not knocking my fellas who are utilizing content. That's part of what they're doing. I just think that you need to be mindful. You need to be mindful. You need to always have your mind full of what it is that you are wearing and then where you are going to wear it. Because all of these things are saying are telling on you, right? They're giving somebody a telling perspective. They are giving somebody insights into who you are, and they could be on point or they could be totally misrepresented. And when those people interact with you and then they see that it was misrepresented, then they can't trust you anymore. And if they can't trust you anymore or can't trust you at all, then they don't really want to connect. So that keeps you from cultivating and building relationships. Now, if you're a guy who internally and authentically just likes being well dressed, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that. You should still take these tenets that I'm passing on to you and thinking about how to diversify your wardrobe instead of getting four suits, getting two suits that you can actually leverage and then two other tailored pieces, whether that's a leather jacket or a casual jacket that you can pair and a cardigan, whether the cardigan is black or brown or the casual jacket is black or brown. You'd be extremely surprised at how many other ways you can leverage those things to tell your story in style. So I want you to try it on, see how it fits you. Again, no hate, all love for the fellas who are doing their thing. Trey Bryant's a great guy. I just think that this was a missed take. Like I said, I don't believe in mistakes. I just believe in missed takes, missed opportunities, new perspectives, different perspectives that we can put out, um, so that we can really be the best version of ourselves. And if you can start doing that, then I promise you're gonna always show up as the best dressed man in the room. So I want you to try that on, see how it fits you. If you have any questions, let me know. If not, I don't see anybody with any questions. Then I am going to leave you to it and remind you to be great today, to make sure that you're showing up as the best version of yourself every day, and to think about wearing what suits you for where you are, right? Where you're going, what you want to promote and position out in the world, right? Because again, every man has a story, and that story is soon going to become history or his story or somebody else's if you're allowing them to author it for you. But I want you to tell your own story, make a statement in style. And if you keep on rocking with me, I guarantee you'll be able to do that. So outside of that, be great today. I will see you next week. And above all, don't ever forget that dress is nothing more than the outward expression of a man's state of mind. So you should always dress to address your life and your style. I'll see you next week. Peace.